Today we're going to be talking about Guru Sahib or Guruji giving darshan or appearing in physical form, in human form. We can expand this question to include all of the avatars and Mahapurukh, the Shaheed. We can expand this question to include all the great spirits, the angels, all the gods. Do they ever appear to us in human form, like, face to face? Do they materialize and appear to us in a human body? Do they come to us in a human body? Do the gods, the gurus, and the guardians appear to us in human form? Do they come to us in human form? Well, if you look above me, if you look behind me, you can see the gods, the gurus, appearing to me, at least, in cloud form. God is appearing to me in the form of sky, and also this camera. I came out today because I thought it would rain. So I brought my umbrella and everything, but it doesn't look like it's going to rain. It was raining earlier. Does Guruji appear in physical form? So far, if we look at our available evidence, scientific evidence, then it doesn't appear to be the case. It doesn't appear to be the case that when somebody passes away, that they rematerialize into a human body. So if you were asking scientifically, if you were asking in terms of, physics or biology or chemistry, then the answer is just a simple no. Because there are certain laws that govern this universe, this world. And even though we may say that the world is only an appearance in consciousness, that doesn't mean that that appearance is not being governed by certain laws, certain habits, certain ways of doing things. But that doesn't satisfy us. We think, that, God should come to us in physical form. If you read Gurbani, or if you read any kind of spiritual literature, maybe some ancient Hindu text, or if you read the Abrahamic texts, then you come across these stories where God appears to his devotees, in human form, in physical form. Not always human, but in physical form. And if you read the Abrahamic texts, then it's the angels. It's the angels that appear to the great man and inspire them and push them to do great things. So people read these stories and then they wonder, can that happen to me as well? I think that if this thing actually happens, then by now we would have plenty of evidence. Because this is the age of technology. This is the age of phones that fit in your pocket. This was something that was never before possible. It wasn't even conceived of that you could have this type of device available, at your fingertips just by reaching into your pocket, as I have done with this phone that you guys are watching me on. So I think if there was such phenomena happening in the world, if such phenomena happened in the world, then I think we would have evidence of it by now. And if someone wants to prove that it does happen, then they should come forward with the evidence so that we can all see for ourselves. Because when we're talking about the material world, when we're talking about God materializing or Guruji materializing, we're talking about the material world, and we're talking about something physical. We're saying this physical thing has come before me, and so it must interact as all other physical things do. Unless, of course, it wasn't physical and it was a mental phenomenon. And we'll come to that. We'll come to the mental bit. But physically, we don't really see evidence of it. And science is a very powerful tool. Do not underestimate science. It's a very powerful tool to study the natural world, the physical world, the appearance of consciousness. The trees, the grass, and the clouds, all of this is the appearance of consciousness. I don't know if you can see this bird. Probably can't. That bird is an appearance of consciousness. I keep repeating that. There's a number of topics here. So one is, the scientific evidence, the scientific methodology, and how that gives us a very accurate understanding of the natural world and the laws that govern it. I've touched on the appearance of consciousness. We'll come back to that, I think. We've talked about stories. Stories in ancient texts where God appears, at least to his devotees, in physical form. And there's plenty of those stories in Guru Granth Sahib as well. We'll come back to those. One thing that we should keep in mind, one thing that we should remember, is that Guru Granth Sahib is constantly reminding us that God is formless. It's constantly reminding us that God is formless. Why does it do that? Why does it say that God is formless, and what does that even mean? I realized my shoelace was untied. So, what does it mean when Guru Granth Sahib Ji says that God is formless? And who is a guru? Because when we imagine Guru Sahib appearing to us in physical form, in a human body, I think we make a big mistake in understanding in who the Guru actually is. When we think of the Guru as a human body, we actually mistake his real identity. And this touches on the whole pursuit in spirituality. It's worth watching my previous videos on meditation, because we're going to touch on some of those concepts here, but we go in more detail in those videos. So, thinking about the Guru as a physical body is a mistake. And now we're going to talk about it in, spiritual terms. Why is it a mistake? Why can't we just think about the Gurus in terms of a physical body? Well, the reason for that is because they didn't see themselves as a physical body. Well, what did they see themselves as? what did the gurus see themselves as, and why did they continue to emphasize that God is formless? These are connected. Anyone who has studied themselves, anyone who has studied their body, anyone who has looked at the different layers of their mind has realized something. And that realization is that there is a part of the mind, an aspect of the mind, that constantly takes credit for whatever the body does. That part of the mind takes credit for whatever the body does. And the way it works is whenever the body does something, for example, as I'm talking right now, there's words coming out of my mouth. My vocal cords are vibrating and creating sound. That sound is being understood by a brain. What this part of the mind does is it looks at the past, looks at what the body has done in the past, and says, I did it. It says, I did it, and then it says, here I am. So it takes credit and justifies its existence. Let me repeat. So the body does something. Let's say I'm walking right now. As I'm walking, as I'm paying attention, there isn't a process. But as I think about the fact that I'm walking, that process kicks in and says, I did it. I'm walking right now. And it takes credit for it. Even though that part of the mind hasn't done anything. It hasn't done anything. It's just a part of the mind. It's the body. It's my legs. It's the legs that are moving. And it's the vocal cords that are vibrating. That part of the mind comes in and says, look, I'm talking right now. I'm walking right now. And it takes credit for it. It thinks that it's doing those things. What happens if you're not alert to this, if you're not constantly paying attention to this, which is how you meditate correctly, if you're not constantly paying attention, you're going to start thinking that part of the mind is actually you. That part of the mind that takes credit for things, that's who you are. So most people are walking around identifying with that part of the mind. This is also called body identification. Because fundamentally, this part of the mind is attached to the body. And so by attaching yourself to that mind, you're attaching yourself to the body. That, I think, may confuse you. Let's go back to the part of the mind that takes credit for things. You start thinking that is you. You start thinking that is who you are. The gurus, when they looked at their mind, they saw this. And when they saw this, something clicked. They realized that, this is not who they are. This part of the mind that takes credit for things is not who they are. So who are they? As you take note of this part of the mind that takes credit, as you take note of it, you realize that you are actually the awareness that's taking note of it. And you are taking note of it as an object, just like any other object. So next to me you can see some trees and large bushes. Just like that lamp. As you become aware of that, you become aware of that process in your mind that takes credit for things. So if you are able to take credit, if you are able to observe this part of the mind, and you realize that, it's just a mental process, and it's a mental process just like how the formation of clouds, is a natural process. It's just as natural as that. The only difference is that one thing is happening at the level of the brain, and another thing is happening at the level of the sky. So in all of this, what you are is awareness. So now we come to studying awareness. What is awareness? If you study awareness, all it is something that is aware of the things that are happening. You don't really have access to it beyond that. And that's not to diminish how important it is, its significance. But what I mean is that you can't really go beyond that. Awareness is where it all ends. As you explore your mind, or as you explore the natural phenomenon, it ends at awareness, because that is the first thing that you have access to. It's through awareness that you come to know the world. And as you study awareness, you realize that all the things that you see, all the clouds, the rain, all the birds, the grass and the bushes, the sun, all of these things are appearing in your awareness. This is how awareness appears to you. This is how awareness appears to you. This is consciousness. I'll bring this back around to the question. But first, let me just take you through the park, literally and metaphorically, and show you all the things. As you understand your mind, as you start to understand it, as you start to observe it, you see this process that takes credit for things, which is just as natural as any other process. It's just as natural as any other process. And the one who is observing this process take place, the one that is seeing this in action, that one is awareness, it's consciousness. So when Guru Granth Sahib and the Gurus and the saints the prophets, when all of them tell you that God is formless, this is what they're talking about. Because awareness itself doesn't have a form. Its form is all the things you see. Even what you see actually isn't exactly its form, because what you see is simply due to the apparatus, the evolutionary apparatus that you have received, which is the human body. So what you're seeing really is just a small bandwidth of all the frequencies that exist. You're seeing the world through a filter, through a small hole, and that hole is your senses, is your eyes, your ears. It's giving you very limited information. And it's giving you just enough so that you can function. Because the natural way of things, the way life evolved, was through perceiving function so that it could function. Perceiving form in a functional way so that it could function. So the appearance of awareness is even beyond what you're seeing. But what you're seeing definitely is the appearance of awareness. And people definitely argue, they use this point to argue the existence of all kinds of things. They'll argue the existence of aliens based on the fact that you can only see a part of reality. They'll argue that, God appears in a human form and things like that. And I always think, if you're so keen on proving, I'm not talking about you, the questioner. I'm talking about I'm not even talking about you guys, the viewers. I'm talking about just some people who argue this, that God does appear in human form and can do things and regularly does things that break the natural law. And I don't think that's how it works. I don't think that's how it works. Because I think that if it worked that way, then you would see it. You would see it more often. In the current age that we live in, you would see Jesus back from the dead now. And it would shut everyone up. Can you imagine? You're walking down the street and then bam, Jesus Christ. In human form. It doesn't work that way. That's why it doesn't happen. The universe hasn't been set up like that. And to see it like that actually you've misunderstood the spiritual pursuit, which was to go beyond form. It was to go beyond form, beyond the human form, and recognize the formlessness of awareness. So if God means anything, this is what it means. Awareness. This is a big chunk of what God means, is awareness, because his whole world is the play of consciousness, of awareness. What you see around me, all the clouds and the trees, and myself. And if you're watching this on your phone, look at your hand. Look at your feet. This is all the play of consciousness, of awareness. I use those two words and the word God and the word guru interchangeably. Certainly the word God. Because when we talk about the Guru did have a human form. The Guru had a human form. Why doesn't he show up physically in human form? Why doesn't he give darshan in human form? In Gurbani we hear shabads where the Gurus themselves, they say, I am thirsting for the darshan of God. I am thirsting for the darshan of Hari, which just means God. So my eyes thirst for his vision. Are they talking about the human form there when they are saying that? When they say that I am seeking the darshan of God, are they talking about seeing a physical human form? I don't think so. They're not talking about a human form. They're not talking about a physical form. What they're talking about is seeing all of the physical forms that you see and recognizing that they are the play of awareness, of consciousness. So they keep emphasizing God is formless. God is formless. They keep emphasizing that. And even when they talk about the avatars of God, they keep emphasizing that we are talking about the formless being. We are talking about the formless. We're talking about awareness. Ultimately, we're talking about awareness. So the question arises, are all these stories of God taking human form, are they lies? Are they wrong? God takes human form? What? God is awareness. How is he taking human form? And you see this argument from the people who criticize or are critical of the stories of the gods. You see this argument from them that now they don't really understand awareness. They don't really understand that. They just have this belief system that God is formless, so then they just argue based on that belief system. Like, God is formless. So, how was he born into the lap of Devaki, for example? If God is formless, how was he born into the lap of Mary? And these are good questions. Perhaps we will come back to them or tackle them in a different video. In this video, I want to bring this back to, does God come to us in human form? Does the Guru come to us in human form? Will Jesus Christ ever walk on this field and talk to me in person? Oh, hey, there he is. I'm just joking. I mean, he is really there. If you pay attention, he's right there. Do you not see? You will see. Does God appear to us in human form? let's look at the heart of this question. Let's look at where it's coming from. It's coming from this desire, this attachment to form. The gurus tell us to go beyond this, but we're pretty attached to it. We're not really seeing that. We are not really seeing our real identity. We're not really seeing who we really are. And we're mistaking Guru Sahib. We are misconceptualizing or not really understanding who Guru Sahib is. We are mistaking Guru Sahib's identity as well in this process. We are misunderstanding Jesus Christ's identity. And this is like a big thing. People have really misunderstood who these great men really are. They've misunderstood them immensely. And then from there they create like a web of belief systems, and then they just get trapped in it. This is another video as well. I wrote down some topics, and this was one of them. So this will have to be another video as well. But what I want you to understand is that this attachment to form, this has become your whole world. Because all the belief systems, what you think religion is coming from this. It's just another attachment to form. It's simply another misunderstanding about who you really are. You've actually misunderstood the whole thing when you don't really see that who you really are is an appearance in consciousness. That what you really are is consciousness, and the thing that you thought you were, you can observe that just like any other natural process. I think I have to get out of here now. There's like a bunch of people with their dogs without leashes. Guys, you gotta keep your dogs on leashes in public places, because your dogs won't bite you, but they'll surely bite other people. I'm being flanked by 2 dogs. I'm in big trouble. Gotta run faster. Okay, where were we? Physical form. Yeah, so this whole religion business has become just another attachment to form, and it's totally misguided. It's totally mistaken. It's the whole religious pursuit and spiritual pursuit is actually to go beyond form and to realize who you really are, to understand how your mind works, to understand what it's doing and how it grips you and how it destroys your life. Slowly, it chips away at it. It slowly chips away at it, and you don't realize it. And some people whose lives have been destroyed, maybe they don't even realize it, but they can at least tell you that their life was destroyed. Hopefully they realized it, though. Okay, wow. Lots of topics. Spirituality is about going beyond form and realizing what's actually going on in this world. I guess one thing we can touch on is awareness, and why that is, because a lot of religions talk about truth, and why is awareness the truth that they're talking about? Because everything that you can see, everything that you can hear, everything that you can perceive can be false. But the only thing that can be true is that you are aware of this perception, which can be false. But the only thing that you can be sure of is that you're aware of it. So what you see might be fake, what you hear might be fake, Everything might be fake, but the only thing that you know is genuine is awareness. That's the only thing that you know is absolutely genuine. The fact that you are aware of things, the fact that you are aware, that's the only thing that you can ever know for 100%. You can know that you are aware. You can never know if what you're aware of is true or not. So this is the supreme truth that is being spoken about in many religions, whether they realize it or not. That's a different matter and a different video. But that's the truth. And that awareness doesn't have a form in itself. It's the one that perceives all the forms. It's the one that appears to you in forms, because that's the only thing that you have access to. The only thing you have access to is the screen of awareness, and it shows you different forms. It shows you different forms on the screen. The movie screen is all you have, and you just see a movie playing on it. And in that movie, there is that aspect of the mind that's taking credit for the things that one of the characters is doing. And you think that aspect of the mind is who you are. So you've mistaken yourself. And you think that these great men who went beyond form, you think, and who realized the formless, who realized God, you think that they also saw themselves in that same manner. They're constantly telling you to go beyond it. They're telling you that, some of them directly say that I'm not who that you're seeing me to be. I'm not this. I'm awareness. Jesus says, before Abraham was, I am. Before Abraham was, I am. What does Krishnji say in Mahabharata, in the Bhagavad Gita? What does he say? He says a lot of things, actually. But, he says the same thing pretty much. Kalosmi. He says, I'm death, I'm time, I'm this whole play that you're seeing. He says to Arjun that these men that you're seeing right now, you won't be seeing them soon. So he tells Arjun to fulfill his responsibility, which is to fight the irresponsible people. That's a whole different story and a whole different video. But these guys are constantly telling you, I am consciousness. Jesus says, before Abraham was, I am. He's not talking about his body. It's clear from the quote that he's not talking about his body. And he's not talking about a certain process in his mind that constantly takes credit for all the things that he's doing. He's talking about the very fundamental ground, the foundation of the world, which is consciousness, which is just one name for it. The I am. He's telling you who he is. Krishnji tells you who he is. And the gurus tell you who they are. Some of the great men didn't really say that I am God or I am this formless being. They didn't say that. But they still talk about it, and they still tell you to look at yourself and realize who you are. To see reality as it is. To see everything around you as it really is. So the question you have to ask yourself is that when the whole of spirituality, the spiritual pursuit itself, when it's about going beyond form towards the formless, and when all these guys are constantly emphasizing the formless, trying to point you to an experience, a direct contact with God, with consciousness, then why do you keep moving towards form, and why do you wonder, will this person ever see me in person? And the reason why you have to ask yourself that question is because you want to actually see what's going on in your mind. Like, what is actually going on there? What is happening? Now, I've spoken quite a bit here, but you really have to see for yourself. You really have to do the work, the heavy lifting. It's kind of like bodybuilding, right? Nobody else can lift the weights for you, right? It's not like, you can pay somebody, hey, you lift my weights so that you can get stronger. It doesn't work that way. Just like your body, it needs to lift the weights to get stronger. It can't pay somebody else to do it, right? You can't listen. This is a great analogy. You can't listen to bodybuilding channels, to bodybuilders, and become strong. That doesn't happen. You actually have to go lift the weights to see what they're talking about. Otherwise, you'll have no idea. Like, I've watched these channels. Some of these guys go really in depth, and because I'm not on their level, it just goes above me. I'm like, what are they talking about? Right? And that goes with any field. You actually have to put in the work, and you have to do it. You have to meditate correctly. I have a video called How to Meditate Correctly. Watch that video. In that video, we go in depth about meditation, like about what it is and what you have to do or not do. I also made a video about responsible actions. Because you have to have something in life that you're working towards. You have to have, there's got to be something. It doesn't have to be one thing. It could be a bunch of things, but you have to work towards something. Your life has to be oriented the way a compass is oriented. Your body has to be like that compass that's pointing north. You have to train your body. You have to understand your mind and what it does. You have to see I was going to say you have to see consciousness, but you can't really do that. Because that's what you are. You have to be consciousness. You have to be awareness, looking out and seeing your mind in action. And when you do that, you will realize this whole thing. This is the face of God right here. There's a soccer net behind me. All of this, all the people that you meet, all the great men that ever lived, died, and will never come back. All of this is a play of consciousness. But Gobind Singh Ji tells us again and again that all the great men that ever came, they all passed away. Death conquered them all, but none of them could conquer death. Their physical forms do not exist anymore. Their bodies have gone. So they're not coming back, is what he's saying. And he's trying to point you to the ultimate reality, to the fundamental truth of our existence. So contemplate that as we walk here in silence. I actually recorded this video before, and the volume of cars was pretty loud. My voice was clear in the video, but I was kind of yelling. I was kind of like trying to speak over the cars, even though my voice was actually pretty clear in the actual video. Somehow, it was clear. So I decided to record this again. I might go back and watch that video to see if there's any points I stated in that video that I missed here. If I were to give the answer to this question in one sentence, the question being, does Guruji or does God come to us in a physical human form? I think the answer I would give is that he does appear to us. He appears to us as consciousness, and he appears to us as the play of consciousness, the appearance of consciousness, which is the entire world that we see. He appears to us as each other. Alright guys, if you have any other questions, either about this topic or any other topic, it could be anything, there are no limits. It could really be about anything. If you have any questions or any kind of thoughts, if there's anything on your mind, let me know. And I will try to tackle it. I'll talk about it. I'll share my perspective. And maybe it may help you on your journey. Wow, this is a long video. Alright guys, I will see you later.